All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 5 of the Interview with a Killer Main series podcast. I'm not sure what to call it at this point. Today we have a very special episode with an amazing artist main. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, my name is Carn. I am primarily DBD streamer, and I have been maining artist since the PTB, but honestly, it was before that when she was leaked on Twitter. I was like, oh, this is my killer. So I am primarily an artist main, but when I play Survivor, I play Talita.
And where can people find you, your Twitch, Twitter, and all that stuff? Which will be below,
I
by the way.
Oh yeah. So I am Carnivorous on Twitter, on TikTok, on YouTube, and on Twitch. Carnivorous is, I mean, you'll link it, so I don't have to spell it, but it's not normal spelling.
It's just what Karn, and then I was about to say it's Karn and Ivarus, but it's.
It was originally supposed to be pronounced Carnivorous, and
Mhm.
nobody did that for the first year. So I was like, I'll just go by Carnivorous. But then for some reason in the past 6 months, people have been like, "Oh, it's Carnivorous," and I was like, "When did you guys start to?" I was like, "We already tried that. Nobody did anything."
Is
But
it
Carn or Eris
is
is
it
fine.
is it IE, right?
Yeah, it's Carn and then Iveris, so Iveris.
I think the I is what messes people up.
Yeah, so it was very quickly, I think, in my streaming career, just shortened to Carn.
Yeah, I
I was
mean,
like,
yeah.
nobody even did Eris. I was like, you guys don't want to call me by my name, but okay. I was just like, it's Carn now, and I'm like, okay,
You know,
sounds good.
apart from the Nintendo copyrights I have to avoid, but I mean, I've got Bake, Bane, B.
Yeah.
Yeah, the nicknames are great. Where did the name come from, anyways? I know
Uh
that.
oh yeah.
Yeah, the
Go
last
ahead.
part. I'm assuming that's your actual name, isn't it?
Yeah, and so it kind of came from I'm a huge fan of Corpse Husband, so this is a little bit cringy, but I literally because I never watched Twitch before I started streaming, I just was like, I should probably stream on Twitch. That seems kind of fun.
Hmm.
And I was just laying in bed one night and I was like, Carnivore sounds like a cool name. And I was like, oh, let me just check the spelling. And it was available on every single website. So I just took all of the websites. And this was in November, and I didn't start streaming until March because I didn't even have a PC at that point. But I was like, if I ever stream on Twitch, this is my name.
I mean, it's unique at the least. I
I
don't
was
think.
just can't believe I got it.
I Yeah. I mean, even mine. Like, I know people joke it's like a Pokemon OC, but it's like I didn't think it was that original.
I
Honestly,
like your name.
I everyone always asks me what the origin of my name is, and honestly, here's what it comes down to. I back in the day, back in 2014, ye olden days, I wanted to be a Pokemon YouTuber. Um,
Oh,
I failed at that. And I was like, you know what? Every Pokemon YouTuber has like a catchy name. So I thought for 10 minutes, and I was like, Fake and Banette works. And that is the origin of my name.
I think that's so clean. Pokemon's hard to be a content creator for. I
Yeah,
feel like the game comes out, you're just like, cool, everyone plays it for 2 weeks, and then you're just stuck with nothing for
it's
3 years.
it's Nuzlocke's tier lists and like concept videos. That's really all your options after a game comes out. And shiny hunting, but you can really only stream that. Uh
God, and I can't even do shiny hunting. I just don't have the patience for it. I'm like, well, I didn't get the first time. We'll be fine. Oh, well. We lost. Oh well.
my Xenomorph streams, I know some people know about this. I do fishing Xenomorph streams. What I do is I run Dragon's Grip. That's the only thing you need, and I will Dragon's Grip a gen at 50%, and then
Oh,
I'll just wait in a tunnel. That's all I do all game. I did it for
oh my God,
I did
that's
it
so
for
good.
like 6 hours one day.
I did that on the Chucky PTB because I got Trail of Torment and Insidious,
Hmm.
and I got Dragon's Grip obviously, but I was waiting for Insidious especially, but I Dragon's Grip this gen, and this poor streamer I got her was like, what? And she just screamed because you just see this little Chucky turn the corner.
Uh,
I was like, this is more fun than us actually playing Chucky, so we'll just do that.
Listen, as a Chucky man, I understand. So how long have you been playing DBD?
So I have known about DBD since its beta. I used to play on my friend's PC for the longest time, but I didn't officially start playing until February of 2021 when I got my own PC. So I have about 3,700 hours, but I have a handful and some change of DBD just throughout the year. So I've played DBD for a very long time.
Mhm. And I know you're an artist main, but you're about 50-50, right?
Yeah, I like to play 50-50. I really, really enjoy playing killer, and I feel like it's so much more relaxing, and I think it's like it's very intense. Survivor gets kind of boring, and to be honest, I think you're more in control of the game as killer than you are as survivor. But I play 50-50 because I think that if you only play killer, if you only play survivor, you get like the nastiest mentality. And I definitely notice it if I'm playing too much killer, if I'm playing too much survivor, I'm just like, well, the other side just doesn't know what it's like. And I was like, all right, we need to go play, we need to go play the other side real quick. We need to calm down. So I like to keep it at 50-50. I think like right now, if I check like DBD info, it's probably 60-40, but that's just because I did a lot of swiffing with friends offline for my stream.
Mm-hmm.
But streaming all of my hours has just been 50-50.
Yeah, I think streaming. I only stream killer. I do play survivor off stream. I don't. It's because I mostly solo queue, and I hate saying this. I don't know what to talk about when I'm playing survivor.
I honestly, it's so funny. I love solo queue. I know people shit on it, but I love solo queue so much. And I feel like the talking from it, well, so I like Survivor because I can talk to chat more and I can ramble a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I like first started streaming, I think I was like still kind of finishing. Well, don't think I was finishing up school, but I was getting ready for like studying for things, especially like the GRE because I was getting my master's degree. I would low key sometimes like read aloud my textbooks. I would just be like, guys, I have to study. But I would always talk about like the books that I was reading or the shows that I was watching. So I like Survivor because I feel like I can ramble a lot more. Versus with Killer, if there's like an intense moment, I will stop talking. It's so bad, and I try not to do it, but I will just straight up just stop talking.
Yeah, I think I've talked to people. Streaming killer is just a different experience. I feel it's just you have to you're keeping track of 4 different people, 7 gens, an entire map, your
Yeah,
perks. Like,
I'm always like, oh, especially if I have like two survivors that look kind of similar. I always feel so bad, especially when like people are doing the adepts. I'm like, there's two Allens, and I don't know which one I hooked, which one I haven't hooked. They're always like, why did you tunnel me? And I'm like, I don't know who anybody is in this game. But it's just Killer is just it's fun and I like it, but I think that I just kind of really just am focused a little bit more on what's going on.
mhm.
Because if I like, especially nowadays with any of like the meta changes that behavior's done, if you breathe wrong as Killer, they've done 3 gens. But when I do solo queue, it's like they're allergic to gens. I think so very rarely a first gen will be done and will be like 6 people have been hooked. I'm like, okay, cool. But as Killer, it's like, oh, I'm minding my own business. And if I decide to like if I nod at a survivor, if I say like, oh, she's so cute, they've done 2 gens and I'm like, okay, cool, never mind. I can't be nice anymore.
Yeah, I think for me, it's I don't like profit myself on like being that great at killer, even though some people would disagree with that. Not to toot my own horn, but I just like I talk to chat while I'm playing killer a lot, mostly in the downtime. But like I don't know, I don't care if I lose most of the time. I don't get frustrated, which in and of itself is an issue. Some have told me. Um, I playing killer is just it's just a different. It's I don't want to say it's more intense. There's just more to think about. I feel.
I mean, if you don't play Killer, if you don't play Survivor, you only play the opposite side. I feel like you're missing out on like 50% of the game.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh.
So, why artist?
Um, honestly, I mean, I mentioned that earlier, but it was definitely love at first sight. I feel
Mhm.
like she was leaked on, I think it was Twitter or DB Leaks Discord. It was one of those where it was like that string of like dev leaks that everybody was like frothing over. I saw her and it was just like I just fell in love. I fell in love. It was incredible. Because before that I was like a pig main and like I just played pig because she was fun and I thought she was cute. I hadn't really like found a killer that was like my killer,
Mhm.
and it was so fascinating getting to play her on the PTB, and it was just a killer that worked so well with my brain that I couldn't design a better killer for myself if I tried. I've tried like Otz's what killer should you main quiz, and I think I've gotten like mainly the mobility killers because I appreciate the mobility killers, and I think if I hadn't become an artist main, I would have ended up becoming an Oni main because I love Oni. I think Oni is just probably the most well designed killer that behaviors come out with, but artist is just it's like the other half of my soul. It's so cringy to sound like, but I just love the way that she plays and I love her so much. And I don't think I've ever been like so attached to a video game character before. So she's just it fits like she fits so well with my brain. I don't even have to think about it. And she's just such like a comfort killer, especially because it's like coming up on like 1,500, maybe 2,000 hours of just like playing her. Because she came out in 2021, and that was like when I started like fully playing DBD. So I think I had maybe 800 hours in DBD when she came out.
Mm-hmm. And that was, how long has it been? It's been like 2 years now, hasn't it? A little longer?
Yeah, 2.5 years. She came out on my birthday, which is another fun thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because so we share the same birthday, and I was like, behavior gave her just for me. But I thought it's just works so well. It's so perfect. But yeah, it's been 2.5 years, so it's been a hot second. She's definitely not like the new kid on the block anymore, but she's still just so fun.
Yeah. We're probably gonna get into this a little later. But so her perks. I know this is a weird topic to bring up, but
Mhm.
everyone always jokes, including me. Are you disappointed she doesn't have a single crow related perk?
I'm kind of sad too, because like I would love to do lore accurate artists, but all I can really do is Spies from the Shadow. And I've gotten a 4K with only Spies from the Shadow before, but the issue is that now everybody runs Comp Spirit.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like my niche perk is just completely countered by like the weirdest thing in the entire world. So it's like I can't even have fun with like only Spies from the Shadow anymore. It would have been kind of nice, and I know that they said in her initial interview that they were looking to like have her pick up her crows and be like a trapper-esque type killer, which I'm kind of happy they didn't do with because that would have been so annoying. I feel like there's some maps where like the crows just don't even spawn.
Right.
But yeah, no, I would like a little crow perk. I feel like it would have been kind of fun. It's so sad.
It's just especially with the talks they did on the AMA where they were like, we try to design perks that that are based on the killer and survivor's personalities. It's like, what about any of her? Okay, like
You're like, okay, it
Penimeno,
works.
like I can see the argument, maybe not really so
To me,
much.
I
What?
feel like with behavior, there's just so many people working on so many things at the same time that like the devs that are speaking in the AMAs might not always be the devs that are like working on what's coming out next, which is not a bad thing because like behavior is over 1,000 employees like under its belt, and there's so many people doing so many things, and they're working like a year in advance. But yeah, I feel like sometimes they'll say stuff, and I'm like, I know that there's somebody else that's just like working on like a killer or a perk or like an add-on or something, and they're like, please don't.
um, I mean that's pretty much. I mean that's every game company or any large thing where it requires so much of a team effort because it's not like it's just one person who makes every killer, right? It's like a team of like 20 people minimum.
Hmm.
From the animations to the kill to the design, the art style design, and the gameplay design. Um,
I kind of wish they would like do more introspective development stuff because I feel like the AMAs do more harm than good, unfortunately, at this point. Just because I mean, I think 2 AMAs ago, like it was I definitely joked about this on Twitter. But it was just like, we'll tell you later. We can't tell you right now. Or some guy was like, oh God, I don't remember what it was specifically, but he's like, I've been told that I can't say maybe, so I'm gonna say no. And I was like, I think we need better PR training, y'all, because that's not really, I feel like just don't even do the AMA at that point.
that's
I,
I've been saying that for years, but I think the thing is they're afraid of making false promises, and it's like it's not a false promise if you give us a reason. That
yeah, I would, it's like your parents. Like, can you just tell me why you're saying no instead of just saying the word no?
yeah, it's like with the cross progression thing, right? It's like, okay, can you guys just tell us it's not coming and then explain why? That's it. That's all we want. Like if it's not happening, that's fine. I don't care. And
I
if
think they finally did that.
what they finally officially said no?
Yeah, so I think they revealed again, this is on Twitter. I can't remember if this is like I just know that they said on Twitter that it's not them that doesn't want to do cross progression, whatever, cross progression,
Progression.
crow. What they don't want to do cross progression, or because they would love to do it, and I think that they understand that some people start off on console and now have
Mhm.
PC and vice versa. I think that it's probably like Sony or Xbox, I think is what they said, that's like preventing them from doing it.
It's
Um,
probably Sony because again
and it
because
honestly sounds like Sony. That's just is such a Sony thing to do.
yeah, and
So
I mean the game was on Game Pass like I think 2 weeks after Game Pass came out. God, I can talk. Um, and from what I understand, the behavior actually has really good standings with Microsoft, as do most companies, honestly.
Yeah.
Sony, not so much.
No, but Sony doesn't have good standing with anybody. They're Sony.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's basically my thing with it, and it's always been. It's like I don't care when devs like can't do something as long as there's like
Reason.
even if the reason is we can't spare the resources for it. Like I know some people hate it when game companies say that stuff, but it's like I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean I've been a manager of places plenty of times, and I'm like no I get what they mean, especially considering they have other priorities they need to keep in track. They have to keep them employed, unfortunately. Or why do they say it like that? They have to keep their employees employed, so they can't just do what they want all the time or whatever everyone wants.
Yeah, no, it's just sometimes you win some things and sometimes you lose the fight, and unfortunately, I think it's just cross progression is more of a loss.
Yeah, unfortunately. Um. Oh, changes to artist.
Ooh,
This includes add-ons or anything like that.
honestly, it's kind of funny because I feel like this question comes up a lot, and I'm very happy that Behavior has like kind of forgotten artists because I don't really want a lot of changes from her. I'm so comfortable with the way that she plays that aside from like a few adjustments, obviously, just because I'm like nitpicky, I think she's such a well-designed killer. And since the get-go, I feel like she's been incredibly balanced. I think the people that hate going against her just kind of like hate going against any killer that isn't like a double like engraving curve Billy, RIP, but or like a trapper that doesn't put traps down. I feel like the people that hate it are just kind of the ones that are just trying to look for like the little bot killers that they can juice for 5 gens. Um I would like this is I would really like it if I could place my crows around the hook. And I every time I've played Bubba or Billy, I say this because they're able to rev their chainsaw around the hook. But like if I'm trying to place my crows away from the hook, I'm still being punished. I tend to go for a lot of long range or staggered hits, especially because I usually bring barbecue in my build. And the 10 meters that I have to like walk so that I can place my crow makes such a difference. So I'd really like to be able to just like place my crows a little bit quicker, even if it's just I have to place them away from the crow or like away from the hook. That would be kind of nice. I,
It's just a clunky thing to me.
it's very clunky. It's very inconsistent because like Plague with her eerie puke can still be around the crow and like or around the
Yeah.
hooks. I'm sorry. And I think that especially with the way that they adjusted the face camping meter, like however the hell that works, because I
Mhm.
still don't really understand it. I've never been able to get it to work on Survivor side, but as killer side, I'm always like so nervous it's filling up.
Mhm.
But especially since that's like a thing, it'd be kind of nice to just be able to like be a little bit closer to the hook so I could use my power.
Yeah. Any add-on changes?
Yeah, I have so like I'm a severed hands addict. I love severed hands so much. And aside from like a handful of yellow or brown ones, there really is like not anything particularly worth running. I am so jealous of the fact that I think I'm the only ranged killer. Artist is the only ranged killer that doesn't have like a glowing concoction add-on. Like Trickster has one technically, and like obviously Huntress has glowing concoction.
Mhm.
I just would love to be able like I cross map so many survivors, either an injure or a down. The worst is when I down like a calm spirit gamer. I'm like, I'm never going to find that person. They're gone forever. I would just like it if I could see where they are, especially because like I'm being punished for the fact that I hit them from so far away. So I would really love a glowing concoction add-on. I'd really love to have like quicker crow setting speeds. Because like I would just love to be able to set my crows quicker. I'd love to be I they already have one where like the idle timer decreases and you get your crows back quicker, and it's like kind of an under on like a it's an underrated add-on because it really does make a difference in some chases because survivors love to W space now.
Mhm.
Her eerie add-ons are so lame. Like
Oh my
Blight just got
god.
infinite rushes for no reason whatsoever.
I
And
I
which is so stupid.
I hate her Eries because like they just seem so antithetical to like it's not like it's making you play her different. It's like it's making you play her badly.
Yeah, like if I'm close enough to M1, I'd rather M1 let them get the distance and then I down them with an M2.
Right.
Like it's so lame for the fact that like I have to be up on their backs. And honestly, sometimes they kind if there's like if they know what add-on I'm running, you can't do anything because they're
Mhm.
just gonna stop repelling and you guys are just looking at each other. And then the other one, I'm like it's like an eerie add-on, but I'm getting punished. And it's so weird to me because I feel like a lot of the other like top tier killers don't really like don't really have like an add-on, like an eerie add-on that kind of punishes them in the way that like Artist does, where like I lose a crow, and if I send off both crows, so I'm without my power for 9 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
by the way, just 9 seconds, I get 9 seconds of undetectability, which doesn't really, I don't like, I genuinely, maybe aside from one match on Larry's, don't think that I've ever gotten value in the way that I don't know what they were intending to do. But you can't even send off one crow and get like 5 seconds of undetectable. You get 9 seconds of being undetectable and you don't have your power.
Well, I mean, she's also an undetectable killer, or not undetectable. She gains undetectable, but she's also what
Loud.
the loud and like the third tallest killer in the game.
Yeah. So
Like,
you're just like, you're not hiding from anybody, so I don't really understand what they're doing, which is why I was like, I think I got in value on Leary's because like I was just around a corner. But she's just so loud, you don't really like get anything from it. So it's just kind of lame. I like my perfect Iriadon, which would be so broken and would get nerfed within the week. I would like it if she just had one crow, but if I hit you from anywhere in the map, that's a health state. So I can down you or I can injure you, but I just want it to be one crow. I don't even care if they give me like a little bit of a longer cooldown. I just think that would be so funny to just have one crow, and that's just like an insta down.
what if they what if they had one that was like a reverse of how the power works? So you
Oh,
know
I
how,
see what you're
yeah,
saying.
you know how like if you're in the range and it injures you, but if you're outside of the range it just swarms you. What if they had it so an add-on that just made it backwards?
I feel like that'd be such an interesting like way to adjust your play style. Cause like
'Cause it
it would
would,
be such a gaslight to survivors because they just don't know what to play around then.
yeah, because then the whole like setting a crow up at a loop, they would have to stay at the loop. Like
Yeah, so it just I think survivors would be more upset. They're already pretty upset. That would just ruin it. That takes away like so much of her counterplay. And
listen,
like she doesn't really always have a lot.
yeah,
But like it would be a funny Iriadon.
I mean, it's like hard hat on Chucky. Like I hear so many survivors complain about it. Um, ask most Chucky players, and they'll tell you that it's his worst add-on.
Is this is the Iriadon?
It's the eerie one that makes it so when you scamper under a pallet, it breaks the pallet, but you get taken out of hidey ho mode.
Oh, I think that's like Wesker's, isn't it?
Yeah. But the difference is the reason why it's bad is I've explained this. So the reason it's bad is because if you break the pallet and they just start running away, you're a 110 killer.
Yeah.
So you have to catch up to them. And if you didn't have the hard hat, you could have just slice and diced them and downed them. And it's plus it gets rid of pallets, which is something you don't want to do as Chucky. It's a badly designed.
I mean, Chuckies already have their scamper brain. I feel like I don't really come across a lot of people that run as Iriadon.
I
I don't
don't.
get a lot of Chuckies in general, but I feel like I get like only scampered brain Chuckies. I'm
I,
just like, are we gonna use our power or are we just gonna hang out?
I try not to. There are times I do, especially if the person I happen to be chasing is only pre-dropping pallets.
I do that too. Like, I don't really like to place crows at pallets because I know that it's like, ugh, you're just gonna throw a crow.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you survivors are just like, fuck it, I'm doing this. I'm just dropping it. But yeah, I feel like I only really get the Chuckies that are just taking advantage of the fact that he just gets a free hit every time he just scampers under a pallet
Yeah, it's
with
actually,
no cooldown.
if you want to counter that, by the way, go to trash loops, really small loops. But the ones that are normally quote bad. Uh,
Oh, I see.
yeah, he if he's scamper braining it, he will not hit you. Unless he doubles back, which most don't. Uh,
Most don't really have brains anyway. I'm sorry.
listen, all right.
I'm so sad. I actually was really excited for Chucky to be added to the game. And this is like what I kind of mean with like, I feel like artist really works with my brain.
Mm-hmm.
I was really upset that I didn't like Tiffany because Tiffany was like my one killer that I was like, or like my one license that I was desperate for. And it's so
Mm-hmm.
funny because I predicted both big chapters in like February of last year, where I was like, I really want a xenomorph and I really want Tiffany to be in the game, but didn't like either of their powers. It was like I just haven't come across a killer that I think is better than the artist. And like I played Xenomorph and I was just kind of like, I'd rather play Nemi. Uh and I played Chucky and I was just like, I don't like 110 killers. I can play Spirit and that's about it. But like Deathslinger and Huntress
Mm-hmm.
and I mean not Trickster anymore, I guess, because now he's 115 for no god reason. But I can't play 110 killers. I hate it so much. I've learned killer on a 115 killer, and I will just forever be like, I'm just spoiled by it.
Yeah, I've talked about this. Chucky just means a lot to me. IRL, and it was my dream license. I did a. It's funny because I did a concept for Chucky. I think it was 3 weeks before he was revealed, and I almost got everything right. I
Oh my
was,
god, that's
I
amazing.
was so proud of it. The only thing I didn't get really was the third person camera, because who the fuck would have predicted that was going to come to the whatever.
I honestly was kind of wondering because I know people like were like, "Oh, they'll never get to do Chucky. He's so small." And I I know that like I don't remember what content creator it is. It's the ones that do like all the mods, like Kaido or I think Spooky Loops or something,
Mhm.
where they do like the third person camera. I kind of always thought that Chucky would have been like the first one because he's so tiny.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't like to go against Chucky because he's so tiny.
Yeah, I've also talked about this. Part of his power is like I
Just
think
being
I
small.
think people like tend to overlook how much of a difference that makes.
It honestly, I rely so much on sound, and Chucky's really quiet and he's really small.
Hmm.
So he kind of like screws me over on loops that like I would normally be totally fine at just because of how tiny he is.
Yeah. Um.
I He's like the perfect red stain hider. Like I think he's a very well designed killer. He just doesn't like it's just not my killer, which is
Well,
totally fine.
apart from Scamper, but yes. um. It's that was in my concept too. My thing with it though was it when I made it is he scampers under the pallet at half speed. That was how I
Oh,
handled
that
it.
makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, that was how I did it. I even predicted the 110 because of how short he is.
He's just built in being tiny.
Yeah, like I mean, whatever. Other than like the Eries and a couple of the Browns, I guess there's really no other changes you'd make to artist.
No, I mean, like her greens are mainly status effect add-ons. I would actually really like if Charcoal Stick became a brown add-on,
Hmm.
and was like her version of Speed Limiter because I feel so bad whenever artists run Charcoal Stick and I'm like, you're just giving away half your power. You can still be fine with it because I ran every add-on for like a week solid before I like made my guide. Um, you can be fine with it, but honestly, it really depends on if you have stupid survivors. Which is like their worst thing because you're just relying on people being dumb. But if they're not paying attention, you're fine with it. But it's not a good add-on. I think that they had cool intentions with it,
Hmm.
but it doesn't fit in the current meta. So it should just be brown and be a speed limiter and like give me extra blood points or something because it's just such a waste to run.
I think I think anything that relies on the enemy doing a mistake is never good. It's just never good.
It's no. They did change Ink Egg, which was like the one add-on that I wish they would have adjusted. So I'm actually really happy about that. I kind of would still like to tweak it a little bit more because, like, again, for example, Huntress, like, she has infantry belt and she's not like she doesn't get a slower reload speed for
Hmm.
having more hatchets. She just gets to have more hatchets. I just don't think that I should have like a less of a idle timer for having more crows
Hmm.
because like my biggest thing is obviously staggered hits and that's like how I like to do most of my hits and most of my chases and the fact that I like it messes with my idle timer. I don't like anything that messes with like the timing of it, so I don't really like Still Life Crow and I don't really like Chocolate Corn because I don't like that they're idle for so long and I like lose track of them.
Hmm.
But it would just be kind of nice if I had the full 10 seconds because I would probably run Ink Egg a lot more just because you can do some dumb stuff with Ink Egg and Severed Hands, which is like her infectious add-on, and then obviously Ink Egg is like for four crows. I feel like I would do a lot more with it, but because I can't really like get the full set of it, you just kind of like put it at a disadvantage. Like my dream hit is getting to use Ink Egg and getting a full down with it. I've come so close and it's so hard. It's because the first part is fine. Um, because you're able to do four like you basically do it a back-to-back staggered hit, but injuring them at whatever gen they're on is totally fine, but predicting what side they're going to go to is really difficult.
Hmm.
So I would just kind of like if I could set that up a little bit better.
She's been out for a while, so I'm sure there's been a lot of suggestions. And I know she's not exactly the most liked killer sometimes. What is probably the dumbest change idea you've heard someone suggest? Nerf or buff.
Making her 110.
Yeah, I hear
I
that.
think that is like the dumbest thing. And I know that my chat is going to be upset that I'm going to call it dumb, but I call it dumb every time they say it because I think the one thing that makes the 110 killers 110 is because they have a direct hit phase that like
It's
Huntress throws hatchets, not I can't even talk about Trickster anymore because I still think Trickster should be 110, but I digress. Huntress, like, she honestly is a more consistently hit of a
yeah.
killer
Mhm.
than Artist is because I'm relying on like the fact that like I'm getting the swarmed hit from it, even
Mhm.
if I can do the direct hit phase of like 8 to 10 meters that it currently is, because honestly ping is just like a big factor of it.
Mhm.
Um it isn't as consistent as I would like it to be, so it does really like it's not enough for her to be 110. I feel like Spirit makes sense being 110. I feel like Deathslinger makes sense being 110. In my humble opinion, Blight should be 110. And it's like the biggest argument in my chat is the fact that he's not 110, and they say that ours should be 110.
Honestly,
But
I always forget Spirit is 110.
me too, but like it makes sense. Like if she was 115, it would be oh my god, I think
Yeah.
she would genuinely be like probably top 2 because her powers, she just has such a good power.
Mhm.
And I mean, I know she's number 3, but just being 115 to go around the loops, like you just it's kind of like the issue with Trickster right now, and honestly Blight too, where like you can just be 115 around the loop and you don't have to like think about it. You don't really have to get good with your power.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, I think the suggestion of her being 110 is a huge issue. I know some people have like tried to adjust her cooldown and all, but honestly, I wouldn't mind it if they made Severed Tongue base kit, like having an extra second of cooldown, because like the biggest issue with Severed Tongue, or like I think Severed Tongue should be base kit because it just feels so nice. Severed Tongue is the add-on that like lessens the speed debuff
Mhm.
whenever you shoot off a crow, and it feels so nice. It is just like such a good quality of life add-on. If they made that, I don't think I would mind like a longer cooldown, but it just ends up being a little bit of a I think it was just nerf her too much, and I don't really think that she needs to be nerfed, you know.
Yeah, neither do I. I think she's fine. I think people just complain about her too much sometimes.
People
Um,
complain about her, but like, what do you want?
I
Like,
mean, I think a lot of the complaints aren't necessarily. It's one of those things. It's like people who've been complaining about Billy the past few days. 9 times out of 10, every single one of the complaints isn't about Billy. It's about how someone played him.
yeah, like I feel like the biggest issue with Billy being buffed is kind of like when Wraith was buffed or when Freddy was buffed.
Hmm.
There's this like a section of players that just kind of play whatever the easiest, highest meta killer is, right?
Right.
When Freddy, like when Forever Freddy was a thing, they were Freddy mains. When Wraith had that stupid uncloak speed and like the quickness of uncloak and like the lunge, they all mained Wraith. And then like people they're little hermit crabs that are just bouncing from the easiest 4K to the easiest 4K.
Right.
And I kind of think that it was like Skull Merchant too. I think now there's just a bunch of people that are like, oh, I have this like infinite chainsaw that doesn't really get timed out. And I can just back rub as much as I want. And to be honest, I know that back rubbing is really boring to go against as Billy because you're still a 115 killer, so you can just melee rock all you want. And then
Yeah.
when you get closer in a dead zone, you just get to back rub. So it's like a quicker Bubba, but like they would never play Bubba, you know?
Hmm. I mean, it's a little off topic with the Billy. I mean, we've gotten off topic already, but I think it was just a good design in the sense that I've talked about this before. I hate this idea that everyone has, especially in this game in particular, of trying to punish people to not do things. But the better way to do it is to try to encourage it. So, like with Billy, it's like that if you want Billies to just M2 all the time, they found a way to encourage it, in my opinion, and that's why I think that the rework was actually good. I don't think it's perfect, but I think
I think it's a great rework. I know that people complain about it, but honestly, like being a Billy main these past moons, if you
Mhm.
like for the poor bit people who were Billy mains, like they went through enough torture.
Yeah,
I think people will be okay to go against a strong killer for a hot second.
yeah, and I think every killer deserves to have their moment. Um,
Yeah.
Larry will have his soon. Um, uh,
I
but
don't want them to change Singularity actually. I kind of like how he is. I kind of like his like high skill ceiling, and I think that he's just a really interesting killer.
he is. This is funny. When I play off stream, I actually have a build with Larry that I call my no brain build because it's the easiest thing in the. I don't even use the cameras.
Oh, but that's the fun.
Well, no. So it's my build for when, because I have 78 flans on him, so I play him a lot off stream.
Mhm.
It's my no brain build. People are gonna hate this. I run Lightborn, Barbecue and Chili, Lethal Pursuer, and Deadlock.
That's just my build. Normally my build.
Well, basically that is just my build of like I don't want to think about what I'm doing. Lethal lets me know where to go.
Wow.
Barbecue.
Wow. I see
Listen.
how this
Okay. All
is.
right. All right.
Those are my favorite perks to run. That's crazy.
And then for Larry's add-ons, I run the Eerie that gives you aura reading when you place the camera.
Oh, I see.
So I find somebody and I just keep shooting the camera at the loop so I can just have constant aura reading. Yeah, I don't even use the camera. Like when I play him on stream, like I use the camera and whatnot, but like yeah. Also, I think Larry has the problem of I think people oversell how good you have to be to play him.
Really? I think that like he definitely has a bit of a learning curve, but I think that like people underestimate him. Like
Well,
when you go against a good Singularity, you're just like, "Oh my god.
well,
This is awful."
yeah. I'm just saying. I think people like make him out to be this killer that if you don't have like 3,000 IQ, you can't even play him. And it's like, no, you can do just fine if you just put a camera here, put a camera there, scan it every now and again, and then use one in a loop. Like, you're fine. But I see a lot of people who are like, no. You have to know the exact camera placements on every map, on which loop specifically, at this exact pixel. It's like, you don't need to do all that.
He's like the DBD equivalent of Cypher, and I think Cypher mains are like this is in Valorant. I think Cypher mains are like so big brain. So because like you can just play like dumb Cypher, but I think like playing Singularity at higher level, you kind of want to be a little bit like more intense and more like high IQ because oh my god, I've seen some dumb stuff, and I'm just like, oh okay.
Yeah,
Like finding like god camera spots is just so funny to see it translated from Valorant to DBD. You just have people that like this is the god camera to end all god cameras. And you're like, what game am I playing?
like that tripwire on is it Sunrise? What's the new map? The one that came out?
Sunset.
Sunset, yeah. You know what tripwire I'm talking about? It's
The one on B site.
B
I
site
think.
that's virtually impossible to clear.
Yeah, and if you don't have a raise, you're just like, okay, cool.
Or Yoru can do it too, since it's clone forward.
Yeah, but they buff Cypher, so now his trips just respawn.
Yeah. But if you have the clone
immediately run in after the
pretty
clone.
pretty much. I'll be honest, it's bamboozled me a few times. Because it's like, do I shoot? Because I have to shoot it. Because if I don't, there's a chance, and then yeah, whatever. Yeah, I forget you play Valorant sometimes. I play it every Sunday. I really need to play it more. I need to get out of my Cypher main phase.
I love Valorant. It's like the only other game that I really play besides DBD. I do play Fortnite, but that's just because like they added Family Guy to Fortnite, and I really want to complete the battle pass because I love Family Guy. But yeah, Valorant is like the only other game that I like actively play and I actively try in, and it's a whole lot of fun. I really like the competitive aspect of it because I feel like DBD is just kind of like a bottlenecking itself, and there isn't really for like a lot of like competitiveness or like aggression to go. So I just kind of like Valorant for that aspect, even though Riot Games is just a very interesting company to be into.
I played League for 5.5 years. It was my
You're
whole
disgusting.
life. Yeah, I'm aware. Don't worry. I have a League of Legends tattoo actually.
Oh, that's actually even worse.
Yeah, I have a. It's
This
half,
interview's canceled. Actually, never mind.
It's half my back.
Oh no, you're actually blocked now on social media.
Okay.
So I thank you so much.
It's fine. Once people find out, I know what I've done. Yeah, I think Dead by Daylight, like, I know people have talked about this. I think like it's in this confusing middle ground of it wants to be competitive, but it's not. But it is. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why they removed ranks, and honestly, I don't really know how I'd feel if DBD had a ranked mode. Because to be honest, I think there's so much more than your skill set that goes into winning or losing, and it's not always your fault that you lost. And I think this has especially been a little bit more true lately because they said that they adjust like the way that the MMR works. I will lose to bad teams, and I'm just like, confused over it because I'm like, nobody played well. You're like, they had quick chases, and this isn't like discounting them because I definitely have bad chases as Survivor, so it's not like I'm not being like, oh, I killed this 10,000 hour MMR gamer, but I will lose to bad teams, and I'm just like, I don't think you guys deserve this format out. Like I had a match earlier today where I had like it was a little bit of a longer chase than I would have liked, and I wasn't able to get to a painter as such, so I was just like, oh, I'm probably gonna lose like a gen or two. But because they all spawned on 3 separate gens, which is why I like Lethal Pursuer so much, they just did 3 gens like efficiently within 90 seconds, and I'm just like, oh, okay, whatever.
I mean, I like, and I don't want to get rid of the RNG in the game because I feel like if you get rid of the RNG maps, this game I think would become way too stale.
No, like I like the randomness of the spawns. It's not really like my biggest issue with it.
But
I just think that like survivors will sometimes press M1 quicker than you can do your M1 or your M2, and that doesn't mean that you're bad.
Yeah,
it honestly just means that they're quicker at pressing M1.
Well, yeah, and I didn't get many replies on Twitter with this, but YouTube fucking I got like 70. I asked people like what is skill in this game? And what I noticed from a lot of the replies was the one game sense was the one that didn't really get brought up that much, which I thought was weird because to me I think that's the most skillful thing in this game personally.
Yeah, just like having awareness of how people play and like what their next like move is going to be, I feel like is like the most interesting or like the most incredible part of it, because I feel like it gives you a different sense of game sense that isn't really replicated in other games.
Well,
You're just kind of able to like predict what survivors are going to do before they even themselves know what they're going to do.
Yeah, I think the issue is that it's not, you can't really, you can't like really show it without showing, like I can show a clip of me getting it down. What I can't show is the 3 minutes before that of how I got to that point. You know what I mean? Like I can't like go through the entire thought process of like, why did I go left instead of right? Why did I hold the slice and dice? Or why did I put the crow here? Why did like, or pre-dropping pallets? Like inherently is pre-dropping pallets skillful? No, you're just throwing a pallet down, but then you have to ask, why did they do it? How close was the killer? Who was the killer? What loop was next to it? Like, there's all these factors that go into it that, like, don't really get shown a lot of times, and I think that's why most people didn't bring it up when I asked. Most people were saying, like, oh, being able to loop main building, or being able to hold, like, being able to do the most loops before you have to drop the pallet and things like that. Or, like, a lot of people were saying Huntress was the... I got, like, 30 replies as Huntress is the only skillful killer in the game.
Oh, I really disagree with that.
I think most people would.
I think Huntress is definitely skillful. I mean, she has a fridge-size hitbox, so you give and take some. But I honestly don't know what I would consider to be the most skillful killer, because I feel like some of them just have like, obviously like a built-in, I don't want to say diaper, but like they have a way to make it so that newer players don't feel too bad when they play them, versus like I don't know, like something that just holds your hand the entire time. Like I kind of feel like I don't know, I feel like every killer is skillful in their own right. I don't really have a lot of like, oh, this is truly brainless. I honestly sometimes feel like Blight can feel really brainless, because you have like the Blights that just play Blight for mobility, I think are like my biggest pet peeve, because he is 115, so you kind of don't have to do too much, because you can still just 115 around it. I'm not saying that Blight isn't like, he's still a very hard killer to learn, and when you want to like only use his power, you can definitely be put at a disadvantage, which is like unfortunate, because you're just like, oh cool, I'm getting shit on because I'm playing on Toba's Landing, and that's my fault for just like loading into Toba's Landing. But I don't know, I feel like that's like the hand holding aspect, like being 115 but also having high mobility and being like the best killer in the game, but you're still able to like just walk around a loop. Like that to me doesn't feel really skillful. But then you have like other aspects, like I feel like Trickster beforehand, like getting to like throw knives through Killer Shack, just like to me felt really skillful. You're like, oh, that's so cool, because you can like manipulate the holes in the walls to be like more beneficial. I think that every killer has like a level of skill that isn't really unlocked unless you actually play them a lot.
Yeah, and I think from a lot of people outside looking in, like a lot of, like, especially like you said, if people don't play the game, like artists, I think is a really good example because I don't want to say most people because that's not fair, but a lot of people often say like all she does is put a crow at a loop and then she gets the free hit. Like it's not all one, it's not always that simple, and two, um, it doesn't like no, like
Yeah, I think that like obviously, yeah, you can just place a crow at a loop and kind of collect the profit of it, which is like that's inherently that's not a wrong thing to say. Like you can just place a crow at a pallet and they'll get a hit.
mhm,
I kind of love the like will they won't they because I'll like miss those shots sometimes because I'm so greedy for an M2 that I'm like I just don't want to M1 them. It's so
mhm,
lame. But I think that like until you play that killer, you don't really see you don't know what their easy mode is and you don't know what their hard mode is. Like that's the hardest part.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
And that's the same thing with like Skull Merchant. Like obviously Pixel is a Skull Merchant main, especially now since the rework and like the stuff that he'll like clip and send to me, I would have never have thought of aside from just like placing a like a drone at a pallet and seeing what happens. Like he can like he'll have specific spots to just kind of like make it so that it'll like catch you through uh like a small hole in like a like meat tree or an attractor and it's just really cool.
mhm. And yeah, and I think for a lot of that, it just comes down to, I mean, people like this, people who like made a killer to the point to where we learn the little ins and outs. I mean, I still can't do the. Who is it who posts them all the time? The Chucky like game per cancel 180 flick things. Can't.
Oh, it's not thigh socks, is it?
No, I think he used to. I think he stopped. Someone else
I know who
does
you're
it.
talking about. I can't remember their name
Yeah,
either.
for those who don't know, it's you basically you go you scan you slice and dice towards a window and then you look down immediately and then yank your mouse to the left or right and then it 180s you, but you keep going. And it looks really sick. It's not really practical most of the time, by the way. Um, I can't do it. I know how to do it. I just can't. I haven't practiced it enough, and I really don't think it's worth learning most of the time. Um, but yeah, it's like people who learn like the little ins and outs, and you could argue that's an exploit or whatever. But I think another example would be like exactly where to place traps with Trapper, but there's also like an easy Garrett like, or you could just play Shack Trapper. You know what I mean? Like, or with artists, it's like learning exactly like which directions the survivors tend to go, but that's more of a betting during the match thing, and then uh, the not the distance, but the travel time of the crows, things like that. A lot of the stuff
Hmm.
that we think about subconsciously that no one really comments on. Um, with Trickster, by the way, I talked about this when they did the rework, but I want. Here's the only thing I wanted on a rework with Trickster. His Trick Blade add-on?
Yeah,
Yeah, the one where they ricochet.
which is so fun to bring.
Yeah, why not just make that base kit?
Oh my god, no.
But
That would be so obnoxious.
yeah, but make it 10. That's what I would suggest. Keep him 110. Make him need to get 8 or 10 hits. I don't know exactly which one. The only reason I say that is because I feel like that works with his theme of being like a showman, and I think
Oh, I see what you're saying.
it also like it instead of him just running you down with knives, he might actually try to go for some like trickier hits, for lack of a better word. You know what I mean? I
I know what you're saying. I
yeah,
think it'd be kind of interesting, but I like that it's an add-on so that you can choose whether you want to lean into that playstyle or not.
yeah. I mean, I've always wanted Clown to have a bouncing bottle add-on. I think that would be hilarious. Um, yeah. For those, I also used to be a Clown main. For those who don't know,
Which is so based.
yeah, yeah. Good times, good times. And I'm a huge advocate for getting rid of the distortion effect before anyone asks. But
I really do hate distortion.
yeah, my suggestion for that is make it reverse your controls.
What, for distortion?
No. You know how when you get hit with a clown bottle, it like does the motion sickness.
Oh.
Yeah,
Honestly, I feel like there's like some accessibility to clown that needs to be adjusted because I feel like clown is definitely one of those killers that just doesn't feel you're just like going against it. You're like, what am I supposed to do? I can't see anything. Especially, I feel so bad for console gamers who are like, graphics are already trying to truck along as best as they can, and then they get thrown with this purple bottle, and their TV's just like stuttering for life.
Yeah, I like I said, I still say get rid of the effect, but make it reverse your controls while you're under it, if that makes any sense.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, because I feel like that gives the same like idea of what it like because I feel like if it only slowed you, I feel like that would be enough, but not like I'm a huge fan of like theming of like powers making sense towards the theme of the killer, and even with like the effects. Like for Trapper, I still think it should deep wound you if you're injured by base. I don't know why.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why it does. It's a bear trap. Like you mean to tell me they're getting out of a bear trap and they're just the same as they were? Okay, all right.
Just no tetanus, nothing to worry about.
No, yeah, no, they're good. They're good. Yeah, that was a long one. What I think you already answered this question. What builds do you usually run?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny because I feel like right now in a perfect DBD world, I'd love to just run like only aura reading. I'd love to just run my little lethal barbecue, nowhere to hide, and floods of rage, nurses calling, I'm all ears. Like I'd love to just run aura because that's like my favorite thing in the entire world. I hate distortion gamers because why are you trying to hide from me? Like I just want to find out where the survivors are and I want to have fun chases. But unfortunately, I feel like with the way that especially behavior's pushing the meta into right now, you can't like I breathe wrong and they've done 2 gens. So I'm kind of like I hate this, but it's just like I'm forced like there's a reason why every killer's running pain res pop right now, and it's because you're just kind of like if you don't run 2 slowdowns right now, you're SOL. Like this you're just put at a disadvantage. And obviously, like I can still win with no slowdowns. I don't want to be like, oh, you need slowdowns to win, because I feel like that definitely like puts your own power or like your own play style at a disadvantage. Because I sometimes kind of feel like, especially back then, like before most of the changes that they made, I didn't really think that running 4 slowdowns, especially on an S tier killer, really was like skillful. It was just kind of like you're just running meta. But I also think that DBD is one of the few games that like shames you for running meta. So it's kind of like a toss up as to like what really you should run or what you should really play as. But I just kind of feel like if I don't run 2 slowdowns, it's just not very like I don't get to have any fun, which is the worst part. Because like again, how I mentioned earlier, survivors are like pressing M1 quicker than I can even find them sometimes, especially if I tend to not bring lethal or if I have like a full distortion squad. It's just like it's not my fault that I can't find you because you're somehow in the corner of the map. I'm checking the gen that you're near has no progress. I go check another gen, and for some reason, the gen that you're on now is like 60% done. It's just kind of like it's just kind of unfortunate because I don't really like that play style, and it's definitely been something that I haven't really advocated for in the past, especially because I used to just kind of be anti-slowdown, especially coming from like I used to be like a pig maid, and like I really wouldn't run slowdown because I was fine with them doing gens because it meant that my power was active. But now it's like lethal barbecue pain res pop, and it's just like okay, cool. That's all I really got for it, and it's so lame, and it's kind of funny because I saw Oz tweeted as well where he was like working on updated guides for all the killers, and he's just like Control C, Control V, because to be honest, like
I mean,
if it's not pap and pain res, you're just like cool, whatever. Nothing. You've done gens, and that's it.
I mean, he did that builds for killer video like I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, the corrupt one.
Yeah,
That one was very funny.
Yeah, and it was literally like 2 hours of him saying the same thing. There was some variation on specific killers, but most of it was what Tinkerer, Corrupt,
Pop and pain or pop and this is before artist, so it was pop and like ruin.
Ruin. Yeah.
It was, and like honestly, it's funny, but now like thinking about it, like behavior has changed the meta so much that like honestly, there isn't really a whole lot to run, and I am not even a big fan of pain res. I for like all of my being miss old pain res, and I kind of hate that like I'm being punished for something that like I feel like I could have been rewarded for, because obviously like changing hooks under pain res like wasn't really like skillful from the killer. You're just kind of like they're swapping hooks. It's not really like you did anything.
Right.
But I think that if pop is the way that it is, like why is it an issue if pain res was the way that it was? Even if you adjusted some of the values out of it, and I know that some people try to like argue the like statistics of it, where they're just like, oh, well, it's 25% of a gen, but then like you also, if you was only like 15% beforehand, then like after all of the hooks, then there's like a net positive of 2% this way. And I'm like, that's not really what I'm looking for. And you're a loser. I don't care about your math. I just liked the feeling of it, especially because it just shaved a little bit off the top and you were able to kind of take advantage of it. And obviously Artist was especially like really good with the pop and the pain res and the dead man switch. Like that definitely made more of a beneficial usage of it, because Artist is like probably one of the few killers that can really synergize super well with dead man switch. But I don't know. There really isn't like a whole lot of perks that I want to run, especially because Artist isn't really one that like chase perks work well on. I respect Palette, so I don't really like End Fury. Stabiffle is actually like awful on Artist now, because if they get swarmed, you lose health states technically. So
Yep.
if you chase your obsession, you've lost like 8 stacks if you don't down them immediately. So it's just kind of like there isn't really a lot of nice quality of life perks that I would want to run on the Artist. So I'm just kind of like pigeonholed into orb reading or regression. And especially the fact that like people just keep running distortion and they keep hiding from me, it just kind of like now I'm just running regression. Like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's all we're going to talk about this in a minute when I ask you about the state of the game, but I think I think I see this in a lot of games, but more so DBD is like this idea of the meta often becomes like the anti-game. It's like you run distortion, you run whatever else to speed up the gens, to get out as fast as you can. Meanwhile, the killer is like running stuff to prevent that, or not prevent it necessarily, but stop you from doing it as fast. Because it's an arms race on both sides, and then no one wins at the end of the day. Like no one is really playing the game. People are trying to avoid playing the game while playing the game. It's weird, but I mean,
Yeah, I not to shit talk the people that run distortion, but it really just does bother me, because I feel like it's not that it's, I mean, distortion is kind of like inherently a bit of an issue in my opinion anyway, but I think it's the fact that the people who run distortion have adopted a specific playstyle that, I hate saying this, is so boring as killer. It is so incredibly boring. And again, I know people are going to be like, oh, but she just mains like an anti-loop killer. What does it really matter? It's just so boring. You're hiding in a corner. I don't know where you are. You don't want to be chased. And when you do get chased, it's over in like 2 seconds. And like I get it, and I have had people in my chat especially talk about how, oh, I'm just not really good at being chased by the killer, so I kind of like the aspect of hiding. But I think that it's like like when you play Valorant, you're like, oh, I'm not really good at shooting the guns, so I'm just gonna plant the spike. No, you're gonna get good at shooting the guns because that's like the point of the game, right? Like you'll get better at chase. Absolutely, you'll get better at chase. You just have to keep being in chase.
I suck at shooting the guns in Valorant. That's why I play Cypher.
Yeah.
And Yoru, and
Oh my god.
I just flash for my team. It's really
honestly, I hate flashing because I'm just like, it's not skillful for you shooting me when I can't see.
Listen,
And like I swear my flashes last a second, and then like the flashes with my enemy teams just last like 6 times longer.
I've thought about reworking distortion, and my idea for reworking distortion, I know it'll never happen, is literally this: it has 3 stacks, and you only get them back after you're hooked.
That would be honestly kind of interesting.
That is the change I would do, and the reason why I did it that way is because you get 6 max uses, you get to hide, for a little bit if you want, but it still eventually you're gonna get found.
Yeah, I think that like it would just be kind of nice, because like it would be nice to just be able to find out where these gamers are. Like I went against like a 4-man distortion squad, and I ended up winning. It was my most recent YouTube video, and they were just like, well, how did you know where we were? And I was like, honestly, it was on Lyria's, and you guys were just all in the same area. But I've had matches where I have a 4-man distortion squad, and they, after like killing one of them, they had 4 gens left, and I walked around for I think 20 minutes not finding anybody at all, because I'm just like, no one wants to no one was working on gens. Nobody wanted to take chase. I was like, I will let you guys live if I can just find one of you. Like, please. It's so interesting, because It's a form of DBD that I don't like. Obviously, people used to like hide in bushes and run urban evasion. And it's honestly kind of funny now that urban evasion gamers are looked on with kinder eyes than distortion gamers. But it's not that it's not that it hasn't been in DBD before, because I mean, our old urban evasion, self-carrying in the corner gamers have always existed. But now it's just a new level of like, why are you hiding?
Yeah, and I think it's like you said earlier, it's like it's not necessarily the perk itself, it's more the play style it encourages.
Yeah, and that to me is like what I don't really like. But I think that everyone can play DBD how they want,
Mm-hmm.
which is totally fine, because I know that you mentioned like state of the game. Like, I think that DBD is in a weird place where it doesn't really know what it wants to do, and
Mm-hmm.
they doesn't really know like what we don't really know what to expect from the devs, because I feel like some of their balancing things don't really make a whole lot of sense. Like,
Off
I
sticker
think that
hold
you can
cough.
play DBD how you want, but I also think that one of the biggest issues is the fact that like people are upset over the fact that the other side is mad at how they want to play. So like, I don't mean to tunnel the distortion gamers, but I know that if I let you heal, I won't find you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of like it's a little bit of, it's like, it's very interesting.
Yeah, and I think the other problem with it is that there's two, like the only like quote real way to counter it is bringing as much aura. Let me rephrase that: long range aura reading or super consistent aura reading, which there is not that much of in this game.
No, and then like if you choose the aura reading, you kind of have to deal with the other side of like the survivor meta, where like they're running deja vu, they're running
Mm-hmm.
prove thyself. And oh god, it's kind of funny whenever you come across like it's not, I think it's power of two, or
The
friendly competition,
friendly
Toledo's Perk. It's
competition,
so
yeah,
funny
yeah.
coming across that, because like gamers that run that perk, that kind of know what they're doing, it's like the gen, like you blink and the gens are done. It's so
Yeah.
interesting.
Um, I was gonna bring up the. I played a match on Temple of Purgation. I want to say it was like a month ago. I will never forget this. It was an Ada. I was running barbecue, and I didn't see her the entire match. I had eyes. I closed the hatch. I had eyes on both doors. Would you like me to tell you what her build was?
I'm just gonna assume it was like Soul Survivor, Wake Up, Distortion, Calm Spirit.
It was Distortion, Calm Spirit, Left Behind, Soul Survivor. And
Oh,
I
I should
I
have guessed the Left
I
Behind.
asked her. I was like, "Why didn't you even try to go for the door?" Her response was, "Everyone kept calling me a bad teammate, so I became one."
I love that. Yeah, like I don't wanna, because like I get it. Like when you're playing DBD, sometimes it's like you just keep getting tunneled, or like if you play solo queue, it keeps getting unfortunate. But I kind of like the more aggressive approach to it more than the more hiding approach.
Yeah, and I think I think another problem has just always been like, what is so like the incentive to hiding, right? It wastes the killer's time, and the killer's time is 4 times more or less valuable than. Wait, did I do that backwards? 4 times
I know
more.
what you're saying though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Basically, the killer's time is less valuable than people listening know what I mean. Uh, so it's like if you waste their time with distortion and they're having to find you, it's like yeah, I can understand that being a perfectly valid strategy. Problem is when everyone's doing it.
Yeah, nobody wants to be the one to take chase, and you're just like, okay,
Yeah, and
that's
then and then
fine.
and then someone will test the waters. Somehow you down them super fast. Maybe not because you were good, but because they were in a dead zone, or you just had a really good setup, or you happened to mind game them decently well. And then the rest of the match, they're just you never see anyone ever again. You go back to the hook, and both of them are. That's the other problem I have with distortion is that once you do find somebody and you hook them, if the person using distortion happens to be the one who unhooked them, they just run away. I have no idea where they went, and now I have. Let me rephrase
Yeah,
that.
you're like, where's the one that unhooked you? Why aren't you taking a hit for this poor person?
Yeah, like I got accused of tunneling. Anyone who knows me knows I don't do it on purpose. I almost never tunnel on purpose, even when like I know I would win if I did. Um, I'm like, no, I didn't want to tunnel you. I just couldn't find anyone. Like
Yeah, you're
it
like, this was just, I was trying to get some altruism by anybody and by anybody, and nobody came for you. So I'm so sorry.
Like, what? I can't just let you go. Like, I'm not just like, I can't see the other person. You're right there. I have no other option. Right? I don't know. It's just, yeah. And as far as state of the game, because I guess we're kind of moving into that, is, are you still having fun with the game overall? I would assume so, since you stream like what, 4 or 5 days a week.
Yeah, I stream. So I've been streaming a lot more recently, but I think that like at the end of the day, the game is still fun to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I this is something that I did when I first started streaming where I was like, the second that the game is no longer fun, I just won't stream it. I've always been like the type of person where if I don't want to do something I don't like, then I just won't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I've stood pretty true to that my entire life just because I'm a very stubborn person. The game is still fun. I still really love the game, and I think that like any criticisms I have for the game are the fact that I want this game to succeed, and I love it so much, and I've had so much fun playing it over the years. I've met my best friends playing it over the years, and I really still enjoy it. I have more fun playing it either when I'm in a Swift or when I'm streaming. I don't really play it as much by myself as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be the only like thing that's changed over the years. Like I used to be able to just kind of do solo queue survivor by myself or like killer by myself, but now it's kind of like I like playing killer on stream because I feel like it's so much more fun to have like an audience react to it. And I like swiffing with friends, which is why I think I have like more survivor hours than I think most people kind of expect from me.
Mm-hmm.
Because like the game is still really fun to me. I just kind of don't really know what the devs want to do with the state of the game. I kind of feel like they keep making changes that I know they have good intentions, but it's kind of like a little bit lackluster and it's really unclear what they want to do. And like the killer meta just feels really stale. The survivors have like infinite second chance perks, like their gen perks aren't really getting changed or they're kind of getting buffed, so it's very interesting. But I don't like the us versus them mentality. So honestly, I feel like the biggest issue with the state of the game is just the fact that everyone's really bored and restless and there's nowhere for that energy to go. I kind of feel like the fun thing with if you play like an FPS game is that there's always going to be another FPS game for you to play.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you're bored of Valorant, you can go play CS:GO. If you're bored of Fortnite, you can go play Apex. If you're bored of anything, you can do it. But DBD doesn't have that equivalent.
You can play.
Like,
You can play Evolve.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go play TCM. I'm gonna go play what is it? Identity V. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go play Home Sweet Home. Like DBD doesn't have that equivalent. So like when you're annoyed with it, you can't do anything. So you just have to be annoyed with it, which I think is like the worst part and what people like really kind of struggle with. And DBD, I think if DBD had come out in the way that it had in 2017, it or 2016, it really would not have like it lasted as long as it did. I think that they had the benefit of like being the first of its kind and being a little bit like in a more in a more infant stage of video games.
Mm-hmm.
But like the newest game mode, the lights out mode, that's only available for a week. So
Yeah.
you have a week of like a new DVD game mode, but honestly the game mode is just the fact that like you're you have no perks, you have no power. Like you still have your power. I think they're actually like limiting the killer that you can play. But like you have no perks. The survivors are deafened. There's no scratch marks, but you're also undetectable. So it's just kind of like interesting as to how it's gonna go. But after that 1 week, like they're not replacing it with a new game mode.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have like a week to do things and then what? That's you're just hoping that something else will come out in like another year.
I mean, I know people talk about, and I never like using this word. I never like calling the devs lazy because I don't think it's the right word. I think mismanaged and terrible. Yeah, just terrible management. I really think is what it comes down to, because I really don't think the devs are lazy. I just think a lot of them don't know what. How do I? When I say don't know what they're doing, I mean it in the sense of they're being told to like do certain things, but there's no like end goal with a lot of it. If that makes any sense, like with the game modes, like you said, we're getting this one after what, a 7, almost 8 years, and it's going to be here for a week. We have no word on any other game modes. It's I don't want to say it's I don't know how the coding in this game works all the time, but it's like all they're doing is it's basically darkening the map, getting rid of scratch marks, no perks. You're undetectable. It's like
Yeah, like they haven't really done anything in terms of development aside from like adjusting a couple of numbers here and there
mm-hmm.
and creating like a separate queue for it. I'm assuming it's a separate queue.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I
think that's why they added that. I feel bad, but that's why they added that ugly HUD.
Okay, okay. I actually had a very long conversation about this. The new UI, I know everyone hates it. It is for newer people, and it makes more sense to them. And I know it sucks to say, but it does. As much as I hate it too.
It's ugly.
I know it's ugly, but it's simpler to understand for someone who's never like.
I don't think so. I don't really agree with that. I think like everything was listed very clearly, but now you just kind of have to click, and honestly the clicks part is like a little bit laggy. But like I feel like the other part made more sense because the tutorial was like in its perfect little category.
Mm-hmm.
And like killer made sense because you were clicking into killer queue. Survivor made sense because you were clicking into survivor queue. I just don't really like it, and I know that they adjusted it for the game mode, but it looks very like cheap. It kind of looks like somebody's first graphic design project where they were just trying to make everything as small as possible.
So I need to find a video again because I'm actually working on one about this with other games, but there's a video I watched. It's like it was a 3-hour long video by a guy who does UI design for a living. And the whole purpose of the video was explaining why like all UI looks bad now. And he basically what it came down to was he was like, it's function over fashion for people who've never used an interface before. That's why it looks the way it does. Maybe not DBD specifically, but that's why like a lot of UIs in games are starting to look really bad.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate because you're just kind of like, I feel like they had a good sense of UI for like a hot second, and then they kind of make changes that nobody really asked for.
I mean,
because I like for all the new people that come into my chat, nobody's been like, I don't know how the menu works.
I mean, that's pretty much. I mean, I think it's them underestimating. Because I mean, it's not like someone's opening up DBD as their first video game ever. I seriously doubt that is a very common thing. Does it happen? Sure, probably, but like, of what percentage? I would love to know. And yeah, I mean the UI discussion. I would love them to revert it back, but they're not going to. I can almost promise you they're not going to.
Nah, yeah,
it's
just it's behavior.
Yeah. I mean, as far as state of the game goes, though, like I said, talking with you, and like I said, I say this like every single time I do this with somebody. Every single time I get someone on here and I ask them, "Are you still having fun with the game?" Almost every single person has been saying yes. I was told it's because they man a killer, and that's why, because like they have like a secondary goal, and that's why the game is still fun to them. It's like you can still go for cool crow shots. That's why you still find the game fun. And I really don't think that's what it is. I just think a lot of people are fine with the game. They just don't say anything because why would you? Like, I think it's just human nature. It's like with YouTube comments, right? It's like if someone enjoyed the video, how often are they really just gonna write the comment? You know what I mean? Like if someone's enjoying,
people are more likely to write negative things than they are positive things.
Yeah, because I mean the positive doesn't really. I'm not saying it doesn't, but like in most people's minds, it's like why would I waste the time saying something positive about it? That like I watched it, I enjoyed it, I played it. There's nothing that needs to be added to the conversation. Negative though, even though it's not, most people are like it's criticism. It needs to be said. And not to say this game doesn't need criticism, because it does, or to imply the game is perfect, but I don't know. I see so much doom and gloom around this game all the time, and you could blame that on me being on Twitter a lot, but
Twitter is just kind of like a little bit of a negative zone right now. So I don't know if it's like, unfortunately, not the best way to gauge like the state of the game, just because, again, like you said, people are more likely to be negative on Twitter than anything else. So I think it's just a little bit unfortunate that that's the way that it is, but people are more likely to be like, "Oh, I'm upset" on Twitter than anything else.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like with the Alan Wake situation. I don't know if you were on Twitter after the reveal. Oh my god. I didn't realize so many people didn't like Alan Wake, but I learned that day. But then I went to the Reddit was fine, the forums were fine, but Twitter was so angry that Alan Wake was coming to the game.
Which I didn't really get because, like, I mean, it's not the chapter for me, but like, I thought it was an okay chapter.
Yeah,
Definitely wasn't bad.
like I think a lot of people were like, he doesn't deserve to be in the game. It's like, okay, why? No one would ever give a reason why, but yeah, people were like, he doesn't deserve to be in the game. It should have been this. Okay, all right, whatever. I don't know. But yeah, I think that like, I don't know what direction the game's going, and it's like I thought for a while there, like after was it 6.1, the major shakeup.
I think it was.
Yeah.
I can actually like kind of pinpoint the game's quote unquote downhill in mindset from the community with Michaela. I feel like Michaela, I love her, don't get me wrong. But I feel like Michaela was the beginning of the end because her just like her everything
Yeah.
was just it just brought so much anger and negativity because I know you can like also talk about Pinhead too, but I think Michaela with her boons created such a nasty divide between survivor and killer. And I was a killer main, like I definitely because this is also like around the time Artist came out.
Mm-hmm.
I was a killer main when original Circle of Healing was around, and it was disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
If you blinked wrong, the survivors reset themselves. There was nothing you could do. And it was really unfortunate. So then you like had this point where like I especially noticed it in my survivor matches, like killers were relatively nice. They were going for the 4K, but I was mainly in ranks. So I was at like rank 8, I think, for the most part. And in rank 8, I've considered it to be like the least sweaty rank because it just kind of was like we're just playing to have fun, and like we win, we win. If we don't, we don't. It's not the end of the world versus like the red ranks when they still were like red ranks.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the creation, like adding boons into the game, but also changing it so that it was skill-based matchmaking was such an incredible issue that like it just made everybody so much more negative about the game, and that was like the most unfortunate part.
You know, I've talked about this with skill-based matchmaking, because my opinion on it is apathy, honestly, and people don't like it when I say that. So apparently I have to pick a side. Either I hate it or I don't, which it's there for me. My thing with skill-based matchmaking was always, if they shadow added it, do you think anyone would care? Like
I don't think so, but I think that like people would notice it because I have like I initially didn't notice it, but I definitely have noticed a difference in my games and the way that they play and like the way that my survivors react and the way that they work. I've noticed that much of a difference, but I think that like my issue with the ranks is the fact that like the people that wanted to be sweaty were with other people that wanted to be sweaty.
That's
but
true.
now
Yeah.
you don't really have that. Like if you have people that are like, I just keep winning, but like I kind of want to just be calm, and nobody's calm anymore. And I'm kind of on that side where it's like I feel like I don't really get gamers that are calm anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing the I'm so glad I didn't do this as a win streak, but I'm doing 50 games of Chucky with no add-ons or perks.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then I'm doing 50 with the meta stuff. I'm trying to get the data to see how much of a difference it makes. Um, by the way, would you like to know my average game time with no add-ons or perks?
I'm assuming it's probably like 7 minutes, right?
It is 12 minutes.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's a lot longer than I thought it would be. My shortest match was 4 minutes on Haddonfield so far. I'm at 36 games. Yeah, my shortest match was 4.5 minutes on Haddonfield. My longest match was 25 minutes on Swamp.
Oh wow. Honestly, that just sounds like Swamp.
Yeah, you think Swamp's bad? Play as Chucky, you can't see over the fucking grass.
He's so tiny.
Chucky should be first person. No, he shouldn't. um, but yeah, like it seems like the direction the game wants to go is not the direction it's actually going. Sometimes it is the other thing with it.
No, and it's also not the direction that I think a lot of people want to go into.
Mm-hmm. Because like I don't mind if the game gets sweatier, but like you said with the grades, it's like, but let it be optional. Because
Yeah, and like if you win too much as like a new player, you kind of like get shit on.
mm-hmm.
Like you can't get better at it, which is the worst part.
And because I think I know people have talked about a ranked mode, but I don't really hear people talk about like how it would be implemented that much. I think for me, ideally, a ranked mode would be no perks, no items, no add-ons, no swifts, and I think it would be the most boring thing ever.
No, I think that like again, I wouldn't mind a ranked mode. Obviously, it should be an optional queue.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly wouldn't even mind if like ranked like if DBD had like a public leaderboard where it was like most 4Ks with each kill or whatever. But I just would like them to just add that so that people who just want to relax can relax. But obviously, like you're gonna have people that are gonna sweat in ranked mode, and you're gonna have people that play ranked and are like, "Why are you being so sweaty?" You can't really win, but like people are already doing that in quote unquote pubs anyway. So like can we just have that option, like give the competitive people the option to be sweaty so somebody will get a breath of fresh air.
I mean, not every killer can be me where I don't tunnel or camp. That's not. It's just not
No, I
possible.
tunnel. I don't care. I don't care.
I don't judge people who do. I'm just saying. Yeah, the amount of people I get who come into my chat who are like, why didn't you tunnel her? Why didn't you camp them? I don't really want to. Sorry. Uh, but yeah, it's just like the other thing is like in the casual pub, even without skill based matchmaking or with it, what is the other than you know the subjective form of fun? It's like what how do we incentivize people to like run less meta things? I mean, I know the idea's been thrown around about like adding the random modifier from the last archive, was it?
Oh yeah, that was so fun.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people ask them to add that in base game, but make it so like it gives you like double blood points or something. I think that would be great. I don't think it would fully fix the problem, but I think it would be great.
No, it'd be like so fun because I feel like that was such a harmless addition to the game.
Yeah, and as far as game modes, just make that a game mode. Like a perk,
Yeah.
just make
Again, I don't really know like how intense it is for them to create game modes, but like that would be just like kind of nice for like something that just sticks around permanently.
yeah. And it's like it's not like we have. Like, I know people like to say the game is dying based on the player numbers, but it's not like our player numbers are insanely low. Like we're still at what, like 20,000 on Steam?
No, it's like 40,000.
Is it like, yeah, like that's just Steam. Like I mean, I play on Windows Store, so I'm not even in that equation. Yeah, you can judge me for that later. But yeah, and I just don't really know what the devs can do at this point. Honestly, other than it's just like if you do nerfs across the board to like all regression and all speed up perks, and by speed up I mean gen speed up, and toolboxes and medkits and you know like pain res not pain res dead man switch. If you just keep nerfing all this stuff until it like gets into a point, then like you know another meta is just gonna form, and it's like I think the gameplay itself has to change at some point, and I think I think the devs are just kind of scared to do it. It seems.
Which is like, I don't know. I also kind of think that because DBD is such a profitable game, there's just so many factors that go into making changes. So it's just like, I don't think that the devs are inherently bad, and I would never consider them to be like terrible people or anything. I just kind of think that like sometimes they just can't make the decisions that they're going to make, and that's okay. I think that like, I just would like more, I would like the decisions to be a little bit more clear. And I kind of would like them to just lean in the more competitive aspect and give us a ranked mode and give like the people what they want. Because like I said earlier, they're definitely bottlenecking themselves and people just want to be sweaty. And I think that's definitely their right to be sweaty because like online games especially can be pretty aggressive. But I don't really like the way that the meta is working because I just like it's I've had to change my own play style and I hate that because like I used to not really tunnel or camp or anything, and I would just kind of like death hook everybody, and I would be like, oh, we'll see what happens. But now it's just like I can't breathe. I just have to do something.
Yeah, this is gonna sound really strange. I really wish sometimes I could give people my mindset, but like it's just I know it's not an easy thing to do sometimes.
Well, I don't think that there's anything wrong inherently about wanting to win. I just kind of hate that like I can't win in the way that I've normally liked to win, and
Mm-hmm.
now it's just kind of more of like I just have to be a little bit more aggressive about gens.
Yeah. I just meant in the sense of me, it's like I just don't, and this is gonna sound bad. I just don't care. If that makes any sense. It's like I don't like if I don't get any kills, oh well. Like it's just I don't I it's just like with like the whole DC argument, the DC penalty argument that keeps getting brought up every couple of weeks. It's like I've never DC'd from a match in my life. It's just not how my brain works. I'm like I'll just tough it out. But I understand why people want it, you know.
I don't mind it, especially because I mean I am a killer that people don't really like to go against. I
Mm.
think that because it's a video game, you should be able to just dip out whenever you want. I wouldn't mind there not being a DC penalty, but I would like that to translate on the killer side to where like I think there should just be like a collective FF button where like
Yes.
if the survivors are like I just don't want to do this, and if the killer's like I don't want to do this, like you should get to keep your blood points, not have a penalty, and just go next.
And I think the problem everyone bring or a lot of people bring up with it is like, well, it would just get abused, or certain killers would just never be allowed to be played. Cough, skull merchant, cough, cough. But it's like, I mean, I guess, but then that just shows a whole different problem.
Yeah, and like people are gonna give up anyway. They'll just give up on
Yeah,
hook and then run towards the killer. It's
yeah,
not really like the problem's still gonna be there.
yeah. Back when I played clown a lot, DCs happened all the time at the start of the moment they heard a bottle crack, I would get DCs all the time. And once again, I understand for some people it's an accessibility problem. Uh, but for others, they just didn't enjoy playing against clown.
Yeah,
And
and I don't blame them for it. Like everybody has the killer that they don't like to go against, so I don't take offense to it.
pinhead for me, by the way,
I hate going against
I
pinheads.
hate playing against pinhead. Um, yeah, but I think it's also that's a problem in. I think this is a bigger gaming thing because I think we've shifted to this idea of like you can't really like just drop into a match anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I can't think of like Valorant. Like if someone DCs, they're just gone. No one can take their place. Like no one can just
Oh,
like
I see what you're
yeah,
saying. You mean
like
like just load into a match with like two gens left and you're like, okay, cool, this is happening.
yeah, we don't really have like yeah, and for DBD that's what the case would be, but like we don't really have that for a lot of games anymore. Even Halo doesn't have that anymore.
That
Like
would just be a little bit too chaotic, I think.
yeah, but my point with that is like I think a lot of games have gotten away from this whole idea of just pop in pop out gameplay, and I think that's a whole other can of worms and a bigger issue across the board in my opinion. But okay, well.
Mhm.
That was a nice small talk about the state of the game. Uh, okay. Artist is power level. So when I say this, I mean like if you bring the strongest stuff and you're absolutely like cracked with her, add-ons, perks, tunneling, camping, you get to pick the map. What on a tier list? Where would you put her? Like above or below whichever killer?
I think that like she's top 5. I know that Otts kind of put her at like I think he put her at like 8 or 9. I think that like sorry, adjusting to my chair. Um, I think that like Artist is a strong killer. Even if I choose the map, I feel like it's more about survivors than it is the map. Because
Mhm.
like aside from Swamp, like I'll do fine on relatively any map, even the really annoying ones. I think that like she's top 5 for sure, and I think that mobility has a little bit more of an edge than range does,
Mhm.
which is where like it kind of is a toss up on like what's stronger, ranged killers or mobility killers. Because honestly do agree that like Spirit Blight and Nurse are definitely going to be like above her. I honestly think a good Huntress is probably a little bit stronger just because of her direct hit phase and like how more consistent she can be. But since she is 110, there's like a little bit of a disadvantage. But like I would put her top 5 easily. I don't think that she's S tier by any means. And like aside from if you changed her add-ons, I don't think that she would ever be S tier. But I think she's very solidly like A plus, like top 5.
Mm-hmm. And you said you don't really care about the map, but do you think she has like any like bad maps?
Yeah, Swamp. Swamp is ass to play on. Swamp messes up your power more, like more than any other map, I think. The maps that obviously have 2 stories, like if you're talking about like Garden of Joy or Haddonfield, it's a little bit rough. I don't really like RPD. I used to love RPD, but the way that they changed it now, it's a little bit too easy for survivors to break line of sight and then get to a second level a bit quicker than you are, especially if you're not running Severed Tongue. But I just like I don't want to play on Swamp. I don't like Swamp. I have a redemption for like 150,000 channel points to like bring a Swamp map offering, but I just am not a Swamp gamer. And like I can win on Swamp. It's just frustrating.
I can't see.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even just a Chucky issue with me. I cannot see on Swamp. I lose scratch marks all the time. I don't know what it is about that map. It's too big. It's the elevation annoys me. It's yeah. What about like Gideon's?
Me plant's fine. Honestly, me plant's really not that hard to play on. Like the pallets can be a little bit frustrating, but I think I have a match where like I've broke 1 pallet after they threw like all of them. So it's really not that like I don't really mind it. I'll be mad when I get Brett sent there, but it's because usually survivors have like something in mind whenever they send me there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I've never been a fan of Gideon's, but I was also, like I said, a clown main for a while, so of course I hate it.
M1 killers and range like M1 killers, I suffer on that map. I'm not gonna lie.
I think not even just in one. I think most killers who can't do anything over a pallet. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, unless Blight brings Compound 33, what is he really doing on Gideon's?
Oh, that doesn't even exist anymore.
Oh yeah, never mind. Yeah, I forgot. Okay, yeah. What is he doing on Gideon's now?
He can still kind of bulldoze through pallets a little bit quicker. Because I mean, especially if you bring Adrenaline Vial, you still have your brushes back pretty quick.
Yeah, that's true. A weird change, by the way. Yeah. I think I would agree. I think the biggest difference between her and like especially Huntress, I would say is I think Huntress is more map dependent because I think there's a lot of maps where Huntress just
Yeah, like
can't.
cold one maps, even though you can get good range, those hay bales are
Yeah,
infinites.
yeah. Well, on top of that, it's like I think a lot of I don't know how to explain this. Maps like the game, not because of all the pallets, but because there's a lot of line of sight blockers and there's a lot of ways they can dodge the hatchets because you can't really like you can dodge the crows like left and right, but you can't like duck under them. You can't like hide behind something. For the direct hit, sure, but like for the swarm, not you know what I mean? Like so I think like even indoor maps, as long as like you can predict where they're going, like I feel like Artist definitely has the edge over Huntress in that sense. But yeah. I agree. I think I don't know if I put her at top 5. I have to like picture all the killers in my head right now. But yeah, up there though. I think she's definitely up there. She's definitely not mid. I know a lot of people who like put her in the middle of the pack, and I'm like, no.
No, she's top 5. I like again. I know like odds put Oni above Artist, but that's solely because of like Ultimate Weapon, and that's what he like said in his thing. But I think she's genuinely top 5. Like she's able to take advantage of so many other facets of the game than like anybody else. So I just think that she's such a great killer, but she's at a disadvantage because like W space is a really good counterplay.
Um. Okay. Tips for new artists, and when I say new, I don't mean someone who just loaded the game up. I mean like I've been playing DBD for like 400 hours, and I'm like, you know what? I like this killer. I'm gonna main them. Tips for them.
Yeah, I think patience is like definitely key. Um, it's kind of funny because like I still run out of patience too, which is why it's like so funny that this is my main. But watching what survivors are doing is the most effective way to play her, because if you can predict what they're doing before they even know what they're about to do, you're able to hit them, because it's all just about predictive reasoning, which is why I don't really like when they change maps, because I'm just like, I don't know where you guys are doing or where you're going. And the hardest survivors to go against are the ones that I just don't know why they're looping the way that they are, because they're panicking. So I would just say patience. I think for like the first few matches of playing artist, don't really worry about like regression or anything. Focus on aura reading, and I want them to pay attention as to what's going on. Like, why are survivors looping the way that they are? Where are they headed to? What are they wanting to do? That's going to be like the most important thing, is just like trying to see what survivors are doing and figure out what they're going to do before anything else.
What was I gonna say? Any suggestion on one crow versus a shotgun blast?
Yeah, shotgun is the dumbest way to play the artist, and it will forever be the dumbest way to play the artist. And it like honestly upsets me, because when I go against baby artists, they're just like, it's the initial 3 crows to even get them swarmed, and then they're like waiting 30 or 12 seconds to get their crows back, and then they're just confused. They're like, oh, this killer's just ass. I just try to treat it like a an infinite huntress hatchet, pretty much. Like, I'm going for 1 and 1 and 1. I'll use 2 if I'm like, I set 1 and I see where they adjusted the way that they're gonna run, so then I can put the second one. And I only really ever put the third crow if I know that it's going to hit, because I don't want to be without my power for 14 seconds. But like, just treat it like a huntress hatchet, and I think that you'll do a little bit better in your matches.
And I mean, obviously at the beginning of the match, sometimes it's good to but I mean, you run lethal, so it's not really that big of a deal. I was gonna say use 3 to figure out which gen they're on at the beginning of the match, but don't do it.
Yeah, she's a ranged and recon killer at her description, so at her core, you can use the crows to find them. But I kind of just like running the aura reading just because I like to take the guessing game out of it. But like, you can be fine with just mainly regression, and then just using your crows for information at a later date.
And this is something, because I feel like people forget she can do this. She gets killer instinct when the crows pass you and don't hit you. I feel like, and this includes in lockers, the amount of times I have grabbed someone out of a locker because they didn't realize I knew they were there.
Yeah, I have people who say that I'm stream sniping them. It's very funny that people don't realize that I get killer instinct whenever I hit them. But even killer instinct, I don't really like killer instinct as artist, because it just means that I missed. But even then, like, that's just so much intel, so you can see where survivors are going. But yeah, I feel like for baby artists, it's just patience. You'll get it eventually. It's just kind of like, you just have to get used to it.
Yeah. And tips for playing against her. I know.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I know some killers don't like giving tips for how to play against, but I know
she has the same counterplay as Nurse, break line of sight and hold W. I think that like, she's pretty intuitive now, especially because I think her counterplay is the same as like everybody else's counterplay, which is just W space. I think that the funniest thing that people have been doing lately is jumping into lockers like in my face, and then I just grab them out of it because they're trying to like get the crows off of it. So like, while the lockers are a good tool, one, if you go against a cheeky artist, she's going to run Iron Maiden and you're just going to get smacked very quickly. But also, like, knowing when to jump in a locker and when to not jump in a locker is really important. Like, don't do it in my face, because I've grabbed so many people and I'm just so confused at what they're doing. I think another thing is I have survivors that like run into my chest because they're trying to avoid the crow that I set. I don't really understand that. So I would like, again, you can W space, but like, you can play a tile, just be it like how you would go against the nurse is how you're gonna go against the artist.
Yeah, my what I would say is just unpredictable movement. Just if you're beelining it to a pallet that the crows are across, like if you're looping it and you're going like straight to the pallet, maybe stop moving like right before you hit the crows, and I promise you, like, you might be fearing, oh, she's just gonna M1 me, but I mean, take the 50-50 chance. Like, she might not, she might, hesitate.
It's interesting. I think that like, it just really depends on the artist that you're going against and like the way that she's trying to loop. But like, just using your brain a little bit more versus being like, I must avoid the crow at all costs will be more beneficial.
Yeah, I mean it's an unfortunate thing, but yeah, W space. That's
Yeah, that's just it.
Yeah, if you want my tips for playing against Chucky, hold W. He's 110. He won't catch up. Especially if he slices dices first. Also, you talk to Pixel a lot, so this is gonna be an interesting. Or I assume you talk to Pixel a lot.
Yeah, Pixel and I are good friends.
So this is gonna be an interesting one. Because I don't know how much of a lore head you are. Opinions on her lore.
Her lore isn't bad. It's very tragic. I think that it's definitely like one of the more complete lores because it's just kind of like mother's dead, she raised her brother died, she's sad, she becomes friends with crows, she creates art, she gets kidnapped because of the communist country that she lives in, gets her hands and her tongue cut off and then gets kidnapped by the entity. Like it's a complete circle. It's not the best lore in the world, but like it's not bad. I would really love to have a tome for her, and she's one of the few original killers that are like left to not have a tome. But I feel like she doesn't have bad lore necessarily. It's not as bad as like Jonah, her release partner's lore, where he's just a war criminal and they tried to double back on that. But like, it's not bad. I don't think like I don't really have any complaints with it.
Yeah. As for Jonah, I'm just gonna say this. I really wish they would have just doubled down on it. I'm being honest.
I wish it would have been a girl. I would have been fine with him being a war criminal if it was a girl.
Do you think her lore is too sympathetic? I know that's a weird thing to say, but like, I've noticed this trend with a lot, especially some like a lot of especially older killers where they go back to fix the lore. Trapper in particular, I feel like they're trying to make a lot of the killers like I don't want to say not inherently evil, but it's like
they're trying they want you to be more empathetic against the killers.
Yeah,
the killers, I feel like most of like some of them do have just like straight up tragic lore. And I think that the entity feeds off of the tragedy, whether it's one that's caused by the killer or like one that happens to the killer. So I don't think that that's anything that's like inherently a new thing. Because Trapper's whole thing is I think like he used to be a survivor and now he's forced to be a killer. Like he has so many hooks in them because the entity forces him to be a killer. Rin was a really sweet girl IRL, and then obviously she's now a killer and like forced to slaughter survivors. Like I don't think that's necessarily a new thing.
Yeah, Plague and Twins don't even like Plague just thinks she's it's funny with Plague because she's not even like inherently evil. She's literally just following her beliefs.
Yeah.
And then like Twins, I mean like they were just running
Yeah,
away.
they're just sad. I don't think it's anything like new. It's just sad.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about me that's like I don't think every killer should be like Skull Merchant and Clown's lore. It's just like sometimes I just don't want us to go too far on one side of the pendulum, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Like I don't want every killer to be like super sympathetic or like have this backstory that's like super relatable. Sometimes I kind of want a clown, you know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. What is the justification for her not wanting to be, but like working for the entity?
Her thing is that when she was creating art, she was like befriending the crows around her, which were actual like scouts or like aspects of the entity that exist because there's no crows or like there's no corvids in Chile. So it was just an extension of the entity.
Okay. It's just blatant curiosity. And then I haven't really asked this one for other people, but I mean, what other games do you play? Because I know you said Valorant. Is there really anything else?
No, that like so I would say that like it's Valorant and like now Fortnite more than it has been. Like I used to like play Fortnite pretty consistently, but I'm definitely playing it a lot more than I have in the past couple of seasons. But if I'm not playing DBD, obviously I work full time on top of streaming full time, so I don't really always have like a lot of time outside of like the time that I put aside to stream. But Valorant would be the only other game that I play just because I think it's really pretty and I think it's really fun. And it's just like relatively addicting. So I just mainly play Valorant. So I don't have like another horror game that I like consistently play.
Yeah, I mean, are you a I probably should have asked this during the like when you started playing, but are you like a horror fan like inherently, or is DVD just kind of like the exception?
Um, I like horror games. I love the Resident Evil games. I think like the games that I played before DBD were mainly Rocksteady games, so like the Arkham games are my favorite.
Hmm.
So I like storytelling. I like Valorant for like the just like I love how creative all the agents are,
Hmm.
and there's not really like a horror aspect to Valorant. I think that DBD is just something that I've like played and I've always really enjoyed, and I don't really find it scary anymore, so it's not really that it's a horror game to me.
Hmm.
I'm so desensitized by any of the gore too, but like I just kind of like play the games that interest me more than any of like the categories. I'm not an MMORPG person. I don't really like top-down games. I don't really like vintage games.
Hmm.
I'm more about graphics than anything else, honestly.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I got addicted to DRG recently. It's really the only other thing I play.
Gotcha.
Uh, and
But
then
yeah, I can talk about Valorant like so much. I love Valorant. My stream knows I love Valorant.
I was gonna say you said it wasn't a horror game. I was like, clearly you have not played Yoru.
No, I don't play when I play Valorant, I am a Killjoy main, a Sentinel.
Mhm.
I am a Breach main if I'm gonna play Initiator. I do Raze if I'm doing Duelist, and I don't really like to play controller. I like Astra a lot, but I can't solo queue as Astra, so I'll play Viper.
Yeah, Astra's a character I like. I like the idea of playing, but I never play her for some whatever. I just play Brim. He's just easier. Really, when it
Brim
comes.
is just like the most intuitive character, I think, but
Yeah.
I love Astra. She's really fun.
Hmm. I mostly played Cypher, Yoru, and Brim. That's my three. Uh, yeah, but Yoru. Sometimes you'll teleport, thinking you're good, and then you'll pop up, and there's three people with guns pointed at you, and it's the most terrifying thing.
Hmm.
I swear. Um. Yeah, and we already went over the maps, and pretty much if you're still having fun with the game, but
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like I mean, it's just really interesting to hear because you sound, and this isn't to say anyone else didn't, but the genuine excitement I can hear in your voice when you're talking about artists, or like when you were um recounting like when she was released, it's just really unique, and I mean that in a good way. It's just like it was like perfect timing. It seemed like it was just like a match made in heaven, you know. And
Yeah, like I again, she's just my killer. I even if I don't play her the best, I think that she's still my killer.
yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much everything. But like I said, it's just refreshing. That's all. It's just just
Yeah.
just to hear the genuine
I love
excitement.
the artist. I really do love playing her. She's so much fun. I definitely like I can play her for hours and hours and hours, and I still really enjoy playing her. And I haven't met a killer that I think is better than her. So like anytime I play a different killer, I'm like, oh, this team wouldn't have won against me if I was playing my main. So it's just kind of like I'm very happy that I've had the killer that I have because I started off as a twins main and then I was a Legion. I was a Susie main in particular. It wasn't really a Legion. I just played Susie because she had pink hair.
Mhm.
And then I was a Piggy main. Obviously, everybody knows how well it goes for piggy mains, which is just hell. Um, but yeah, I am like so happy and I just really love her. And I just haven't really had like a connection to a video game character more than I have anything else. So I just really enjoy her. And even if I don't play her the best, I love her the most. So that's okay.
Oh, I did miss one question. Skins.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know your thoughts on the. Is it Jabberwocky or Wabbajack? I forget which one they.
It's
It's
Jabberwocky. So
Jabberwocky. Okay.
yeah, so I don't mind the Jabberwocky skin. I think it's cute. I just don't really like it because I am like very sensitive to sound, and
Hmm.
I feel like the sound of it is just kind of throws me off because it's like completely it's like a 180 to how it normally is. But yeah, I love her cosmetics. I feel like she gets very like regal and very pretty cosmetics,
Hmm.
which I'm very happy about because I feel like especially when like when I mean twins, like most of twins cosmetics are kind of ugly.
All two of
The
them.
new like the one that was designed by a community member is really pretty, and I like the blood and guts one, but yeah, I think her cosmetics are really pretty. My specific one is the red chin, the Greek Legends dress, and then the mournful blade, which was an Amazon Prime exclusive, and they haven't ever like released it back into the game, so it's my favorite.
Did I give you the code for that one? I forgot. I think I gave you my extra code, but I don't remember. Anyways,
I gave the so I have Amazon Prime, so I think I gave it to my community. Anytime someone gives me the codes, I give it to my community.
yeah. I no, I'm just saying, like, I don't remember if I gave you an extra one or not because I wasn't gonna use it. So, uh,
Hmm.
but yeah, I think like cosmetics wise, like, because like
They're very pretty.
yeah, and I don't think like she's like she hasn't been forgotten. She gets them pretty
She's not
regularly.
starved.
Yeah,
I would like more, but she's not starved.
yeah, and for a non-licensed killer, I mean, like, I think they do a very good job. I do other than the weapon though, I do think all I was gonna say was other than like the weapon designs, I think are probably some of the coolest in the game.
Yeah, I know that like I think her like cosmetic like design default, like the rules that they follow, I think it always has to be black because like that's just what I've kind of noticed. I would really
Mhm.
like a cute weapon. And I was really happy during like the rift. She got like a like a blue tipped one, but I feel like her weapons are really cool.
Yeah, she didn't get a candy one, did she? I don't remember.
No, she didn't. I don't
Okay.
think she would get one, just because again they are like she kind of I think she only really gets like the black weapons.
I think she's one of the few left. So I think late next year they kind of have to.
Hopefully.
Um, we'll see because yeah, I mean I didn't think Skull Merchant would get one either, but here we are.
School Merchant gets such good cosmetics though.
He does, which I think is the only reason they haven't deleted her. I'm kidding.
Hmm.
Um, is there any skin on her other than and I know it's mostly the audio issue, but like, is there a skin on her you legitimately do not like?
No, I think I really like all the skins. I just don't really play the Jabberwocky just because it's a Link set, and it's like again, I don't like the sounds and I don't like the weapon. But no, I feel like she has very pretty skins. I don't like the ones that cover her face, so I don't really tend to
Mhm.
run those. Like her winter cosmetic or like her anniversary mask. I just don't like covering her face because it's so pretty.
I love the body on the winter one. The winter one's body is so that
Mm-hmm.
sounded so bad out of context. Uh, all right. Well, I'm gonna let you go since you have food apparently.
Yeah,
And as always, I want to thank you again for this. And
I appreciate it. Any excuse to talk about the artist, I'm happy. So.
well, like I said, when I was mentioning like killers, I didn't have someone uh for art. It was you. You were the only option. Like no one brought up, and then this isn't to dismiss any other artist mains out there, but yeah, whenever someone mentioned artist, it was you. That was the only.
I'm very happy about that just because again, like I do love this killer so much.
Mhm.
And it is my killer and I'll be so hard pressed to find like another killer that I might like. So I think that she's just so well designed and so perfect and I love her.
Yeah. All right. Well,
But I do appreciate the invite to talk about her, of course.
yeah. I appreciate you saying yes.
Mhm.
um, it's a lot harder than you think it is for some people. In any case, if you made it all the way through the podcast, I appreciate you. And if you want to see other videos of this, I've done 4 other ones, and we'll be continuing to do more. Eventually, the killer you want will show up. I'm sure. Next week is Pig, by the way. I have Heckaroni coming on for that one. Um,
Oh, that'll be fun.
yes, he's very excited. Uh, but I love you guys, and have a good one. And yeah, bye.